Hello friends! Welcome to episode 2 of Reddit's Regular Revenge, where the revenges are a bit more than petty but not enough to be a pro-revenge, and the stories are just as satisfying. In this episode, you'll hear about eye pokes, lunches being stolen, refrigerator thieves, and a shady towing company. I hope you guys stay for all these revenge stories, and subscribe for future videos. This story's titled, Steal My Sandwich? No food for anyone. This happened back in the 2nd grade. It was so excessive that it never really fit in petty revenge, so I'll post it here. The whole class was on a day-long trip to a forest, and everyone had gotten a note the week before that while school would provide lunch, it would be a good idea for parents to send along a bottle of water and an apple or something since we would be gone for the whole school day. My mother gave me a large bottle of water, 2 sandwiches, and a small bottle of Coca-Cola. Well, in fact, most of the kids brought either nothing or, at most, a small bottle of water. There were exceptions, but I clearly had more than anyone else. As kids do, some of those without started crying within the first few hours and demanded that I share what I have. I felt disinclined. Then, 2 teachers came up to me and tried to make me feel bad and wanted me to share. I had already taken a few sips from my water bottle, so they said I should give away my Coke and one of the sandwiches. I refused. The teachers got angry, but when I didn't budge, eventually they went away. A few minutes later, one of the kids got into my backpack and stole my Coke and both of my sandwiches. I ran to the teachers, but they refused to intervene and said that I had myself to blame for not sharing earlier. So, there was only one course of action that I could reasonably take. I waited until nobody was paying attention to me, then snuck off and went to the little wagon thingy where they stored all the lunch and water and coffee canisters. Without even eating any of it myself, I poured all the food onto the ground, then emptied the water and coffee over it. I then snuck back and rejoined the children playing games. Half an hour or so later, it was lunchtime, and we all marched back to where the little wagon was and saw what happened. The food was, of course, inedible, and most of us were getting hungry and thirsty. The teachers immediately assumed that I did it and asked me in front of the other kids, but I denied it. The bus did not come to pick us up for another 3 hours, and during that time, all the kids were getting more and more thirsty and hungry and whiny. Anyway, I kept denying it, but the teachers went to the principal, and in the end, I was summoned to her office. She asked me if I had destroyed the food as revenge for someone stealing my food. I said that no, of course not, and it's more likely that Kid X did it, since he was the only one who got to eat that day, and he had the bottle of Coke as well, whereas most kids had neither food nor water. The principal was upset that the teachers had refused to intervene after my food was stolen, and that they had failed to even tell her that when explaining what happened. Neither got fired or anything, but they probably got yelled at because they hated me after that meeting. And the kid who stole my food got punished by having the principal call his mother and telling her what he'd done. This one's titled, Don't Poke Me in the Eye. When I was quite young, about 5 or 6, my parents took me skiing in Threadbow for a week. To get up the slope, you need to go up a small series of stairs, so about halfway at the top of the stairs, I briefly stopped while my parents were ahead of me and sat down to check my little booties. I must have been sitting down for a minute when this little shitbrick comes up to me, without any provocation, and pokes me in the damn eyeball. I can remember just putting my little chubby hands up to my eye, and just sitting there with shock that this little swine of a child would do such a thing. Then, all of a sudden, I hear his mother start going apeshit at her devil child son, and instead of giving him the standard say sorry or whack across the head, she reaches into her bag and handed me this little fucker's Skittles, and looked at the kid and said, "You get none," as she dragged the bawling little dickhead down the stairs. Then, I shared the delicious Justice Skittles with my cousins. This story's titled, So You Want to Take My Fridge for Free by Tricking Me? Joke's on You. This is sort of an outsmart and sort of a regular revenge story, I think. So my dad had a store that's at least 3 floors underground. This store was being closed down, and we had to hand it over to the property owner empty. If there was anything they would need to discard themselves, they would charge us a highly inflated price. After we emptied out the store, the last item left was a 4-doors Coca-Cola fridge that you can see in your typical gas station or deli. If the property owner or manager has to discard it, that means the charge alone for discarding will cost us not only the deposit, but then some. We called the Coca-Cola distributor who gave us that fridge to pick it up. They said that the age of the fridge and being under 3 floors down, the cost to take it with them would not be worth it for them. They won't take it back. Then, my dad asked me to hire some people on our own and pay them to properly discard it. I asked my dad, being the fridge running and all, what if I get to sell it? To which he replied, if I can, then whatever I sell it for is mine. A lot of places I tried said they would pay $600 for the fridge, but they will not pull it up 3 flights of stairs. Then, I found a guy who had a flatbed truck, and he said he's willing to give me $400 for it. He and his folks will pick it up. Great! Few hours later, I go to that store, along with him and his buddy. I know, 2 people to pull that fridge up. Pretty impressive. I was just wondering about that myself. I remove the shelves of the fridge so that when they drag it up, the glass doors don't get destroyed. These 2 guys pull the whole damn thing up by themselves to my amazement, as I was praying that they don't get crushed to death underneath it, as I would be liable for it. After they load it in the flatbed, they tell me that they will not pay anything for it, and if I don't like the deal, then I myself can take it off their truck and do whatever I want with it. I see that they put me in a pickle, to which I respond, fine, just take it. The main guy then says, okay, can you give me the shelves from the store? I had already locked up the store when they took it out the door, and then said, I can't open it back up again since we have to vacate the premises for today. I'll hand over the keys tomorrow, then I'll pick it up and keep it for you, I guess. Now the revenge part. The next day, this guy calls me back and says, hey, can I get those shelves please? I can't do anything with this fridge without those shelves. I replied, sure, it'll only cost you $400. The guy then says, what? And starts cursing me. And he said, then I'll go and leave the fridge in front of that store or next to it. I replied, be my guest. We have officially handed the keys over, and that place is not my responsibility anymore. Anyone throwing any trash there will be responsible for their actions. And by the way, this place is full of surveillance cameras. The guy then had the nerve to say, but you said you'd give me the shelves today. I replied, just like you lied and played me, I lied too. Right after you left, I went back in, got those shelves, and handed our keys to them. I then hang up and block his number. My parents asked me what happened. I said, sure didn't make any money, but you were about to pay for it to be removed. Look on the bright side, I got it removed for free. This story's titled, Took on a Shady Chicago Towing Company and Won. Alright, I'll try to keep this short, but it's got a lot of information, and I'm so proud of what happened. I hope it qualifies as revenge, but please be kind if you don't think so. I'm emotionally weak. In the spring, I decided to use a massage gift card at a local chain and scheduled one for 10 AM on Saturday. Of course, I forgot about it until my alarm went off at 9:45, and I saw the calendar alert on my phone. Cue an enormous freakout because you forfeit the cost of the massage, which is nearly $100 if you don't show. I woke up my husband and begged him to drive me because his car is parked right out back, and mine is parked a block away. He begrudgingly got out of bed, and we ran to the car. I arrived 20 minutes late, and he agreed that he would wait for me in the parking lot of the shopping center until I was done. Since at this point, my massage hour was nearly halfway over. My massage goes great, but when I come to the front desk to check out, the woman working there apologizes and says that while I was in the room, my husband received a boot on his car when he left the parking lot to grab a coffee. She says it happens all the time, even to the workers of the shopping center, because the towing guy just sits in his truck on the property and waits for people to park there and leave the premises. She says she ran out there to try to stop it and argued with the guy that I was a paying customer, but the towing operator just laughed at her. They gave me half off the massage for the trouble. I run out and hope to argue our case. My husband is pissed. The operator told him that he would remove the boot if his boss said he could, so my husband called and tried to explain, but the minute he admitted to leaving the property, the boss said, I have you on tape admitting that you left the parking lot. You're screwed. There's nothing you can do. Pay to remove the boot. I tried to defuse the situation by explaining that I was a paying customer, and thus, we didn't technically break the rules of the parking lot. The towing guy says that we have to pay, but we can argue our case by calling the office afterwards. We're forced to pay. When I get home, I call the office and explain, and the guy who answers just says, "I talked to your husband, he's an asshole. Maybe, if he hadn't been such a dick, I would do something about it. You can try to call back tomorrow and speak to a different manager, but I don't know if they can help you either." Great. Now I'm fuming, my husband's pissed, and it's my fault for making him drive me in the first place. I proceed to do a ton of research on towing laws and reporting fraud. I file a report with the Better Business Bureau. I email the owner of the company. I file a report with the city of Chicago. I do everything I can think of, and then just forget about it. $140 is a huge chunk of change since my husband is in full-time graduate school, and I'm working long hours to make ends meet, but we'll survive. 2 months later, I get an email from the city saying they reviewed my claim today and they side with the towing company, but I can call to dispute. I do. Tony, the guy handling my complaint, tells me that the towing company sent over a recording of me. The tape is listed with my name and case number, where I admit to leaving the shopping mall and parking lot. I tell him that's impossible. I literally never left the parking lot, so there's absolutely no way you can have a tape that has me admitting that. I tell him my whole story. Tony says he'll discuss with his manager and get back to me. I get a call later in the day, and it's Tony again. He says that he listened to the tape again and that something isn't right. The woman on the tape that the towing company sent over admits to leaving the parking lot to go to the liquor store across the street and buy wine, so it's not me. He strongly infers that they're trying to screw me over without actually saying it, and says that he told them to send the correct tape by the end of the day, or refund me my money. Tony calls again the next day and says that he can't legally be the middleman, but that I should call the company and give them my information, and they'll send me a check. I do. I'm a sweet as sugar to the grumpy man on the line. 1 week later, a check comes by certified mail. I leave a voicemail for Tony, worshipping the ground that he walks on for believing me and fighting for me. I know this might seem lame, but to anyone who's ever had to deal with a shady towing or booting company, this is the best win possible. I was walking on air for weeks. I thought it was a little more than petty revenge, but maybe not exactly regular revenge, but thanks for reading this incredibly long tale. Hey friends, I hope you enjoyed these stories today. If you want to submit your own stories, my Discord server is in the link below. Also, if you aren't subscribed, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss future stories. See you guys in the next one.